There's a hack for EEVEE's indirect lighting that honestly shouldn't exist, but it does and it works. Without ray tracing, EEVEE's scenes can look pretty flat. Ray tracing brings in the bounced light, the stuff that makes a 3D scene feel alive. The problem is, Blender has been tilted for ages, and there's no slider for tweaking the power of the indirect light in EEVEE. So let me show you a workaround. The technique is super simple. You render the image with no ray tracing and with ray tracing, and you extract the indirect lighting information using the difference blend mode. And suddenly you've got a slider for ray tracing intensity, which, as silly as it sounds, can make EEVEE look ridiculously good, at least in certain scenes. Let me break it down. Credit for this amazing pizza delivery scene, basically a tiny sci-fi universe, goes to Lino Thomas. Lino's work oozes sci-fi awesomeness, attention to detail and great composition, and he's an awesome human being too. Okay, I relit this scene in EEVEE, practicing for our brand new course, and when I saw it running in the viewport at a close to real-time frame rate, I thought it looked fantastic even without ray tracing. But of course everything looks better in EEVEE with ray tracing, and this was no exception. Quick refresher, screen space ray tracing or screen tracing plays a huge role in EEVEE in simulating indirect bounced lighting. Without it, EEVEE would lose a very important part of realism, not to mention it also looks really cool, this ray tracing thing. The issue with the EEVEE's ray tracing currently is that there's no intensity slider. Yep, right. Even the 5-year-old SSGI add-on for Blender had an intensity multiplier, so you could crank it however you like. But as of Blender 5.0, there's still no such slider. But here is the workaround we came up with. Basically turn ray tracing off and render it. Oh, hey 80. Yeah, so render it without ray tracing first. It can be a single frame or the whole animation, by the way. And save it as an OpenXR file. This format will keep all the data you need. Okay, that's no ray tracing version. And then turn ray tracing on and render it again. And save it again with ray tracing. Also as an OpenXR. Okay. Now comes the hack to extract the indirect lighting pass. You might be thinking, isn't this pass available among the default render passes? Like if we go here, we'll see there are no indirect passes. It's just diffuse light and diffuse color, no separate indirect diffuse light or anything. And ray tracing data just gets baked into that pass. But we got around it by rendering it with and without ray tracing. With and without. So now we should have enough data to concoct our own indirect lighting solution, like a couple of mad scientists, you know. All you need is to mix the two renders, okay, with a mix factor set all the way to 1, and a particular blending mode, difference. And that pulls out the ray tracing data for us, aka the indirect lighting. And that, my friends, is a crazy powerful tool. Once you have it, you can mix it with a no ray tracing version, and basically all you need to do is add it on top. And now you have your very own slider for indirect lighting intensity. And if you uncheck clump factor and type in a manual value, you can make it way stronger than what EEVEE normally allows. So basically this is how you smash through the limits of physical reality, and yeah, even the limits of EEVEE itself, and set your own rules for how powerful that ray tracing pass should be to get the absolute best out of EEVEE lighting and rendering. Actually, this exact trick also works perfectly in DaVinci Resolve, if you use XR sequences. It could be very, very handy for animation. That was Gleb Alexandrov. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Lino for such an amazing and super inspiring sci-fi scene that is available for download on Lino's Patreon for members. Everyone, go check out Lino's Patreon and ArtStation. The links are in the description.